Hello, my fellow oddities, and welcome to Beyond the Krypt, the retrospective series where we look through the archives of Mortal Kombat history. Today, we look at how a simple Shaolin Monk became the champion of Mortal Kombat and eventual creator of a new timeline. I am, of course, talking about the main character of the series, the man who defeated Goro, Shang Tsung, Shao Kahn, and Shinnok all in a row, Liu Kang. We will be going through each game he makes an appearance in, reviewing the changes made to his character and how it impacted him going forward, good or bad. I will also be giving out letter grades to each game's version of Liu Kang to show how I feel about how the character was handled overall in that particular game. So without further ado, let's start from the beginning. When the characters of the original Mortal Kombat were first being thought up by co-creator John Tobias, Liu Kang started off as a Japanese martial artist named Yoshitsune Minamoto, a descendant of the Minamoto clan, one of the four great clans of Japan during the Heian period. And that's real history, not just Mortal Kombat lore. Yoshitsune was envisioned as an expert in all martial arts, and it was rumored that he received teachings from the Tengu clan. Now, this is especially interesting if you're familiar with Mortal Kombat lore. In Mortal Kombat Armageddon's Conquest mode, the Tengu clan is introduced as a rival to the Lin Kuei, led by a character named Wu Lei. Now, here in this concept, there are said to be mountain demons and masters of swords and martial arts, and nothing like how they would be in Armageddon, but regardless, it's still fascinating to see something that was conceptualized before the series even officially began, come full circle in a game that was originally meant to be the end. Yoshitsune was always meant to be the Luke Skywalker of Mortal Kombat, the all-good main character and eventual victor. What's interesting is that in the original sketch, he actually looks more like the Liu Kang we would come to know in Mortal Kombat 2 and beyond, rather than the Liu Kang we got in the first game from 1992. And that design is, of course, inspired by movie and martial arts legend Bruce Lee. In fact, the concept behind his movie Enter the Dragon was one of the main inspirations for Mortal Kombat's story, a Shaolin who travels to an island to compete in a tournament and stop an evil force. In Mortal Kombat, it's Outworld. In Enter the Dragon, it's drugs. But back to Yoshitsune, that name would obviously not stick, and the character would undergo some major changes. To better reflect the Bruce Lee inspiration, the character was changed to a Chinese Shaolin Monk, and to match that new backstory, he was redesigned with a shaved head. For about 2 seconds. Then that look was quickly scrapped in favor of what was basically just a direct ripoff of Bruce Lee's character in Enter the Dragon, though this original design may have gone on to inspire the great Kung Lao. As for the name, Yoshitsune Minamoto was a bit of a mouthful and also still Japanese, so they went with a much simpler one. Liu Kang, inspired by Gordon Liu, a martial artist and actor. Now let's move on and talk about Liu Kang's moveset in this initial game. Mortal Kombat 1992 used real digitized actors, and Liu Kang was played by Ho Sung Pak, a Korean-American martial artist. Starting off, his flying kick is inspired by a move Bruce Lee performed in many of his films, and his famous battle yells were also inspired by Bruce Lee. Now, Bruce Lee didn't invent yelling during combat, it was already common practice, but he certainly made it iconic with the masses. Every character in Mortal Kombat 1992 had a projectile attack, and for Liu Kang, it was his fireball. This was intended to be a manifestation of his inner chi, channeled into an energy attack. It was also likely inspired by Ryu's Hadouken move from Street Fighter II. Now, as for gameplay, as I've said before in past Beyond the Krypts, Mortal Kombat 1992 was very basic in terms of mechanics. So when it comes to tier lists and ranking the characters, it's mostly based on superficial differences rather than the complex micro-comparisons we see in modern fighting games. That said, Liu Kang was one of the more fun characters to play, and that's a pattern that continues in future titles, which makes sense as Liu Kang is kind of the Shoto type character that's meant to be easy to pick up and play for the newbies. In a game that wasn't exactly known for its high pace, Liu Kang brought a sense of energy and agility. He felt more like the traditional Mortal Kombat experience we recognize today, while other characters came across as more sluggish. In terms of tier placement, Liu Kang usually falls somewhere between upper mid and high tier, depending on who you ask, though remember this game only has 7 characters, so none of the tiers are all that extensive. He's known for having one of the best uppercuts and set of kicks in the game, fitting for his martial arts background. He also had a decent amount of counter options and that flying kick move, which was incredibly fast, plus an okay fireball as a projectile. Pretty solid for a first go around. Then we get to his fatality, or lack thereof. Liu Kang does have a finishing move, but it is not a fatality. Due to his Shaolin code and inherently good nature, he does not kill. So instead, his finishing move is a cartwheel into an uppercut that knocks the opponent unconscious. Not the most exciting thing in the game, but it's a thoughtful way to preserve the integrity of his character and story. Speaking of story, let's dive into that next. The tournament was once a sacred competition hosted by the Shaolin. That was until Shang Tsung came along and became the champion. Cursed by the gods to consume the souls of his victims, Shang Tsung corrupted the once honorable tournament, growing more powerful with each victory. But he would be stopped by Kung Lao, a Shaolin warrior who restored the tournament's honor. Kung Lao held the title of champion for many years until Shang Tsung returned, now older and backed by a powerful outworld warrior named Goro. Goro wiped the floor with Kung Lao and became the new reigning champion, while Shang Tsung reclaimed control as the host of the tournament. Fast forward 500 years, Liu Kang, a member of the secretive White Lotus Society, leaves the clan to represent the Shaolin at the tournament. The Shaolin are hesitant, knowing that failure could mean the end of any hope to reclaim the tournament, but Liu Kang is confident, and they ultimately allow him to go. Liu Kang fights to represent spirit and honor, bringing back the inherent goodness the tournament hadn't seen since the days of the great Kung Lao. He battles his way to the top and defeats Goro, becoming the new Mortal Kombat champion. In a last-ditch effort, Shang Tsung tries to stop Liu Kang himself and then collapses the island, but Liu Kang walks away unscathed. And that's where it ends for Mortal Kombat 1992 Liu Kang. You can really feel that this was the first iteration of him, as many details and nuances that would become staples later on weren't quite there yet. His design wasn't the iconic red look with the headband and gauntlets that we've come to associate with him, and he doesn't even have arguably his most iconic special move and fatality, which we'll get to in a bit. But still, this is one of the best versions of Liu Kang. Might not be perfect, not quite S tier, but overall, I'm giving Mortal Kombat 1992 Liu Kang an A+. Next, we have Mortal Kombat 2, released 1 year later in 1993. This is the game where I feel Liu Kang truly stamped himself as the main character, and a great one at that. That's immediately obvious with his new design, which is now saturated with a rich, bold red that really makes him pop the way a protagonist should. He's also wearing a headband now, a common accessory in Kung Fu, meant to keep a martial artist's hair out of their face. It's definitely fitting for Liu, especially since he refuses to follow the traditional Shaolin practice of shaving the head, which was meant to solve this exact problem anyway. Liu is, once again, played by Ho Sung Pak, and this time around he debuts what might be his most iconic move, the bicycle kick. Yeah, it's often forgotten that this move wasn't in the original Mortal Kombat. I didn't even know that myself at first. I couldn't find any direct inspiration for the move. It's kind of based on a real technique sharing the same name, but it's obviously way more exaggerated in the game. Still, the bicycle kick has gone on to become incredibly iconic, even appearing in both live-action Mortal Kombat movies. Let me know in the comments, did 1995 or 2021 pull it off better? Liu also gets a new special move with the low fireball, the same thing as the regular one, but it hits low, giving him more effective zoning options by attacking both high and low from a distance. Gameplay-wise, Liu Kang is top tier. Maybe not really top tier like a Jax or Mileena from this game, but definitely in the conversation. His biggest drawbacks are the safety of certain attacks. In particular, the flying kick and bicycle kick are fairly unsafe on block. But that's more than made up for by just how effective these moves are when they do land. And they're not just effective as attacks, but also as mobility tools. They allow him to avoid a number of dangerous moves in this game by just going right over them. And with his new fireball options, like the previously mentioned low fireball and his new ability to throw fireballs mid-air, he forces opponents into a constant guessing game. Jump and you might get hit, stay grounded and you still might get hit. His uppercut remains one of the best in the game, though his kicks are slightly less effective than in the first one. But as with the previous game, Liu is one of the most fun characters in MK2. Because MK2 already ups the pressure and aggression, but Liu Kang is even more high-paced than the rest of the cast now. He is quite chaotic in this one. He's so versatile and unpredictable with his attacks, inputs, and movements, yet still so rewarding. Great stuff for just his second iteration. Liu Kang also finally gets a real fatality in Mortal Kombat 2, while his original finisher also makes its return. And this new fatality is easily his most iconic. Liu transforms into a dragon, the one that serves as the logo for the series, and he bites his opponent in half. Having the main character of the game transform into the franchise mascot is incredibly fitting, as well as just being plain badass. He also gets a friendship, a new finisher type added to mock critics who claim the first game was too violent. Liu summons a disco ball and busts out his legendary dance. Groovy. As for the story, Liu Kang returns home to the Shaolin temples after the events of the first tournament, only to find them in ruins and his fellow monks massacred. Soon after, Kung Lao arrives, Liu's Shaolin brother and best friend. Together, they fight to defend Earthrealm from invading forces of Outworld, but are ultimately forced to compete in a second tournament to prevent further death and destruction. This time, Liu Kang enters the tournament with a new sense of revenge, using more brutal and violent methods to take down his enemies. He once again fights his way to the top, defeating Goro's successor, Kintaro, and even the Emperor of Outworld himself, Shao Kahn, securing victory for Earthrealm once more. I love this new arc for him. Not only does it explain why he now has a fatality, and a brutal one at that, but also just gives him something different for the audience to digest. Liu isn't just going through the motions being the typical good guy again, which is why so many people claim that Liu Kang is boring, because many of these early games didn't give him much dilemma, which is where MK2 stands out and helps us visualize him as an actual character, living, breathing, and doing things rather than a caricature. And overall, MK2 Liu Kang is in many ways peak Liu Kang, the version of the character most of us think of first. He has everything: the perfect design, fun and powerful gameplay, and a compelling, emotionally charged story arc. Is he the most groundbreaking or innovative in any one area? He's not MK4 Scorpion, or Deception Ermac, or MK1 Reptile, but he's such a key figure, and this game was such a major development for him as a character that just made him so well-rounded that I have to give Mortal Kombat 2 Liu Kang an S. Now we're on to Mortal Kombat 3, and this game was sort of what I was just talking about, with Liu Kang more or less going through the motions, repeating the same basic beats as the previous games. And his design reflects that, with it being the exact same as it was in MK2. I guess if it's not broke, don't fix it, but come on, this is Mortal Kombat. We expect cool new designs with every installment. Though one thing did change: the actor. Liu Kang is now portrayed by Eddie Wong, a Hollywood stuntman and actor. Ho Sung Pak didn't return due to some sort of royalty dispute, which prevented his likeness from being used across various console releases. In terms of gameplay, MK3 Liu Kang is a downgrade on the tier list, and honestly, there's not a whole lot of deep reasoning to explain it. He's just not as good. Despite having a very similar moveset and game plan as MK2, he doesn't perform nearly as well. One factor you can point to is the reduced damage output, which had been one of his major strengths in the previous game. It's weird because he's still got the same strong tools that are strong for these same reasons they always were. His flying kick remains fast and powerful, his fireballs are still reliable ranged options, good sweeps and uppercut, and his roundhouse kick is the best in the game. But overall, I guess the lower damage and shift in the game's meta were enough to leave him lower mid to low tier. Liu gets 2 new fatalities in Mortal Kombat 3, along with the return of his Dragon one, this time reworked as an animality. In both new finishers, Liu disappears. In one, the opponent just sort of erupts into flames. It's fine, but the second one is way more iconic. An arcade machine drops out of the sky and crushes his opponent into a splatter of blood. As for the story, after losing twice in a row, Outworld and Shao Kahn escalate things. They initiate a full-scale invasion of Earthrealm, exploiting a loophole that allows Shao Kahn to travel there under the pretense of reclaiming his resurrected wife, Sindel. To make it happen, Shao sends extermination squads to take out Earth's strongest defenders, including Liu Kang. But of course, they are no match for him. Liu fights his way through the invading forces, but it's the apparent death of his Shaolin brother Kung Lao that fuels him to push forward and ultimately defeat Shao Kahn once again. This time, seemingly for good. Kind of. Not really, but you get the idea. And that's pretty much all we get. Even compared to MK1 and 2, this story feels way too simple. It really needed a subplot or internal conflict to add depth, because as it stands, it's just, yeah. Liu Kang beats Shao Kahn. Again. You know? And honestly, that sums up how I feel about Liu Kang in Mortal Kombat 3 overall. There's just too much stagnation and not enough innovation. So for this one, I'm giving... And honestly, that sums up how I feel about Liu Kang in Mortal Kombat 3 overall. There's just too much stagnation and not enough innovation. So for this one, I'm giving MK3 Liu Kang a C. Next up is Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3, the expanded version of MK3 that brought back all of the ninja characters missing from the base game. But since Liu Kang was already a part of the original roster, not much really changes with him. His design and story, completely unchanged. However, there are a few minor gameplay tweaks that are somewhat worth mentioning. For starters, Liu Kang now has a grounded launcher, and it's actually really good. In theory, this should bump him up to being a solid mid-tier character, if it didn't suffer from double damage scaling. That alone pretty much kills its potential, and as a result, Liu Kang ends up in virtually the exact same position he was in before, just slightly less useless than in the base version of MK3. Oh yeah, and the bicycle kick now drains the run meter, which means he can no longer follow up with a run-in combo. So that's a nerf, I guess, but it honestly doesn't really matter all that much. MK3 Liu Kang gets a C as well. His launcher isn't enough to really make any sort of impact, so with everything else the same, he gets the same score. Mortal Kombat Trilogy Liu Kang is literally the exact same character, just even less impressive because of how cracked Trilogy's top tier is. C. Now we've got Mortal Kombat 4, the series' first venture into 3D. And yeah, it's a little rough, but to be fair, it does have its positives, one of them being Liu Kang's design. This time around, his look is inspired by the 1995 movie, which had released just a couple years prior. Liu Kang now rocks a red tank top, a homage to the film's white one, and honestly, it makes the design really pop. The rest of his appearance is still reminiscent of MK2 and 3, but that tank top gives it just enough flair to stand out. Gameplay-wise, Liu Kang is back on track. He doesn't quite hit the heights of MK2, but he's definitely an upper mid-tier pick. MK4 gave every character the same set of normals, so the big differentiator here is the special moves, and Liu's have always been strong. The air fireball is a big part of his toolkit once again, and despite the name, you can basically throw it out from the ground if your timing is good. It's super fast and hard to deal with, making it an excellent zoning tool that constantly keeps your opponents second guessing. The flying kick is also fantastic in MK4's meta. It's a super strong punishing tool, works great as a combo ender, and it's still useful for mobility thanks to its speed. Just an all-around nasty move. The bicycle kick is back too, and like the flying kick, it's at its best. You can use it mid-combo and now follow up afterward with combos, so it flows really well in Liu's kit. MK4 also introduced weapons, and Liu gets a dragon sword. It's good. Good range, decent damage, though it's nothing crazy. It doesn't really fit Liu that well thematically though, so I'm glad it didn't stick around. As for fatalities, his first one is a 3D take on the classic dragon bite, but instead of biting the opponent in half, the dragon kinda just thrashes them around and slams them to the ground. His second fatality is often forgotten about. He throws the opponent toward the camera and blasts them with a fireball, making them explode and their head crash into the screen. It's mostly just there to show off the new 3D engine, and not much else. Now, let's talk story. Shinnok, the fallen elder god and ruler of the Netherrealm, has taken over Edenia and now sets his sights on Earthrealm. While training his new protege, Kai, Liu witnesses what looks to be a meteor crashing into Earth, but it's actually a swarm of Netherrealm demons who have overwhelmed Fujin, the god of wind. Liu and Kai manage to fend off the demons until Raiden shows up and finishes them off. Liu learns that Shinnok sent the demons to attack the Elder Gods in the heavens, using Edenia as an entry to sneak into the Eternal Palace. Concerned for Kitana, his new friend, a dynamic brought in from the movies, Liu rallies Earth's defenders, Johnny Cage, Sonya, Jax, Kuai Liang, and also Kai, and together they travel to Edenia. Unfortunately, they fail to stop Shinnok there and are forced to retreat to Earthrealm. With help from Raiden and Fujin, they take on the invading Netherrealm forces, and Liu Kang, as always, fights his way to the top and defeats Shinnok. Afterward, Kitana asks Liu to become her partner and help lead Edenia by her side, but Liu turns her down, staying loyal to Earth and committed to being its champion in Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat 4 Liu Kang. He's solid all around. A strong design, good gameplay, and a decent storyline. But like in MK3, there's not much personal development. He's still just the same unwavering good guy with no changes to his personality or anything that challenges his morals. They could have explored something interesting with Kai being his student, but the word interesting and Kai should never be in the same sentence. Overall, Mortal Kombat 4 Liu Kang gets a solid B. Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance marked a major shift in the franchise, not just visually with the full commitment to 3D combat, but also tonally and narratively. This was the first game without series co-creator John Tobias, and from this point on, we started to see more mature, layered, and dark storylines for the characters. But Liu Kang would not be a part of that evolution, at least not a major part of it. Right from the opening cutscene, Deadly Alliance made a statement. And what better way to show that nothing was off limits than killing off the franchise's main character. To cement their new threat, Shang Tsung and Quan Chi, the titular Deadly Alliance, go after the most dangerous warriors that could stand in their way, one of which being Shao Kahn, and naturally the other being Liu Kang. The two devise a plan to ambush him at the Wuxi Academy, Shang Tsung even disguising himself as Kung Lao, luring Liu into a false sense of safety, while Quan Chi waits in the shadows. Then they strike. The combined power of the two sorcerers is too much, even for Earthrealm's champion. And then, Shang Tsung finishes the job, snapping Liu Kang's neck, and those words, "Liu Kang is dead," rings in your mind. Just like that, Liu Kang is gone, killed in the opening minutes of the game. A shocking moment that sent a clear message. This is a new era for Mortal Kombat. This means Liu Kang isn't playable in Deadly Alliance. This is the first and only of the mainline entries where that is the case. But this wasn't the end of his story, nor his influence on the game's events. The aftermath of Liu's death would ripple through the rest of the 3D era. His legacy looms large, and his absence shapes the motivations of multiple characters. Deadly Alliance took a massive risk taking Liu Kang off the board, but it worked. It shook the fanbase, raised the stakes, and changed the tone of Mortal Kombat going forward. But it wouldn't be too long before we saw his return, as 2 years later, Mortal Kombat Deception arrives, and yeah, Liu Kang is still dead, but this time he's a major part of the story. His soul, quite literally, becomes ingrained in the narrative. And that comes with a complete design overhaul. Liu Kang is now undead. Not a revenant, a specter, or wraith, he's just a straight up zombie. His skin is rotting with a sickly greenish gray tone, his face is partially decayed, and he's got chains dangling from his wrists. This version of him earned the nickname Zombie Liu Kang, and it's easily one of the most visually distinct looks he's ever had. That said, there is an alternate costume that brings things back to his roots, a modernized take on his classic MK2 and 3 designs. As for gameplay, Liu Kang makes a solid return once again, landing in the upper mid to high tier territory. The multiple fighting styles introduced in Deadly Alliance return here, and Liu Kang's styles are pretty solid overall. His first stance is Jun Fan, named after Bruce Lee's real name. It's a well-rounded style with safe strings, good recovery, and a lot of throw opportunities. His second stance is Pao Shui, a Chinese martial art with solid launchers and good movement options, though not quite as reliable as Jun Fan. And then there's his weapon stance. This time, Liu wields nunchucks, which isn't very accurate since Shaolin Monks aren't really known for using those. And maybe that's the point because the stance itself isn't all that strong. There's very little mix-up potential, so it ends up being one of the weaker parts of his toolkit. Perhaps they knew what they were doing and that's why Liu sucks at using them. In terms of special moves, Liu Kang brings back all of the classics: Fireball, Low Fireball, Bicycle Kick, and Flying Kick. The Fireballs don't quite have the same level of versatility that they used to. 3D MK in general toned down zoning tools, especially with sidestepping, but they still serve their purpose. The Flying Kick has shifted more into a mobility tool than an offensive weapon, but it's still useful for movement and punishes. And the Bicycle Kick is still a reliable combo extender and damage dealer. But what makes Liu really strong in Deception's meta are his throws. Throws are a huge part of this game, and Liu has a really effective throw loop that's difficult to avoid. On top of that, a lot of his strings and moves leave the opponent open for a free throw, meaning high-level Liu players can trap you in a cycle of getting your ass kicked in the most literal sense. His fatalities are interesting. It's definitely different. His first one sees him steal what appears to be the opponent's chi or maybe their soul, I don't know, and then obliterate them with a fireball. His second is much more memorable. Liu phases into the opponent, possessing them, and then makes them rip their own head off, revealing his zombie body underneath. It's quite ironic that his main arch-nemesis would steal this fatality later on in MK9. Story-wise, after Shang Tsung's death at the hands of Raiden, Liu's soul is finally freed and given a chance to ascend, but Liu chooses to stay behind in the mortal realm, still feeling responsible for Earthrealm's defense. When the Dragon King Onaga rises and enslaves many of Earth's warriors, Liu's soul, alongside Ermac, helps to free them. But Liu's body gets reanimated without his soul by Dark Raiden. Zombie Liu is now roaming the world, mindless and violent, attacking innocents, and Liu's soul is forced to watch, feeling the guilt knowing his body is the one committing these atrocities. So while Liu Kang isn't the central protagonist anymore, Deception still does a great job weaving him into the narrative in a meaningful way. He's not just a side note, his presence is felt, the new design is bold, the gameplay is solid, and the story gives him some depth. All the depth you can give him considering he is dead. B+ for Deception Liu. Before we get into the final entry in the 3D era, we have to talk about a major title in Liu Kang's legacy, one where he takes the center stage, while also sharing the spotlight with Kung Lao, and that game is of course Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks, a longtime fan favorite. There's a lot to cover here, especially in terms of story, so let's move through it quickly, starting with the design. Liu Kang's look here is largely in line with his MK2 and MK3 appearances. His gauntlets are a bit more spiked than usual, and his pants feature this really cool new dragon design, but otherwise it's familiar territory, classic Liu with a few added details. Gameplay-wise, Shaolin Monks is a beat-em-up in the vein of the early God of War games. The game is just pure fun, especially in co-op, assuming you've got a friend to play with, which is not a guarantee in the Mortal Kombat community. Liu retains all of his iconic moves, albeit adapted for the new format. The Fireball, Air Fireball, Flying Kick, Bicycle Kick, they're all here and feel great to use. He even gets a parry. Certainly one of the parries of all time. Throughout the game, these moves can be upgraded. Liu Kang can equip weapons throughout the arenas and unleash brutalities to destroy groups of enemies. I'm gonna spoil it right now. The gameplay is S tier, though if you've played this game before and have half a brain cell, you should know that. Being one of the lead characters, Liu Kang has a whole arsenal of fatalities in this one. His first has him beat the opponent with their own arms until they explode. In the second, he uppercuts their head off, then kicks their severed head back into their body, causing an explosion. His third sees him snapping several bones before finishing them with a neck break. The fourth starts with him burning the opponent alive and then flying kicking them into an explosion. His fifth reuses the cartwheel uppercut from MK 1992, plus an explosion. The sixth is the iconic dragon transformation where he bites the opponent in half. In his seventh, he stomps on the opponent so hard until they just kinda discombobulate. Then there's his eighth, which is oddly just Jax's head clap fatality. Beyond those, he has two multalities that kill multiple opponents in the same vicinity. One involves summoning a bunch of fire that explodes nearby enemies. In the second, he turns into a dragon and breathes fire so hard that everyone explodes. Now let's get into the story. Buckle up, cause we're gonna be here a while. Shaolin Monks kicks off right after the first tournament with a big brawl including all of the main Mortal Kombat characters. Liu Kang faces off against Shang Tsung, and Kung Lao arrives just in time to save him from getting his soul sucked. If only Liu Kang could have done the same for him. As the island collapses, Shang escapes through a portal and the villains retreat. Liu and Kung Lao fall into Goro's lair, beginning their escape in what serves as the game's tutorial. Along the way, they battle Oni. How they ended up in Outworld is anyone's guess, and receive help from Johnny Cage and Raiden. Eventually, they escape the island. They're taken to the Wuxi Academy, and all of them are celebrated for the big win, while Liu is especially honored for him being the one responsible for a victory at the tournament, which gets Kung Lao a little salty. The celebration is cut short when Tarkatans attack. Liu, Kung Lao, and Johnny Cage fend them off, but Baraka manages to capture Sonya during the chaos. Raiden briefly clashes with Shang Tsung before sending the monks to find a portal to Outworld. The duo arrives at a nexus point leading to different areas of Outworld. They enter a portal to a monastery where they spot Kitana and follow her after Raiden urges them to ally with her. On top of the monastery, Liu awkwardly gushes over how beautiful Kitana is. You're beautiful. And she retreats again. Raiden reveals that Kitana is under spell, so they take chase. When they catch up to her, she's accompanied by Melina and Jade. After a 3-on-2 battle, Kitana's spell is broken, and Liu promptly kills Jade in cold blood. Damn. Melina escapes though because they didn't kill her. I smell racism. Kitana goes after her sister, and Raiden tasks Liu and Lao with defeating Shang Tsung's 5 assassins to weaken him. They return to the Nexus and spot reptiles suspiciously entering a portal into the living forest. Using clues told to them by the living trees, they enter what is basically the Chamber of Secrets from Harry Potter, which also has a giant snake. And they take him out. Raiden then sends them to destroy the Soul Tombs, again to weaken Shang's power. Before they leave though, Raiden oddly pulls Liu Kang aside and warns him to be cautious of Kung Lao. Moments later, he does the same with Kung Lao, planting seeds of distrust between them. The two go to the Soul Tombs through the Nexus and battle through the tombs and destroy it, also encountering another one of Shang Tsung's assassins, Baraka, who kills a monk, resulting in the greatest story moment in Mortal Kombat history. They defeat and kill Baraka, then move on. Back in the Nexus, they stumble upon Kitana battling Melina again. Melina escapes, and the monks follow her through a portal to the Outworld Wastelands. There, they encounter Black Dragon mercenaries and Sub-Zero. Not Bi-Han, but his younger brother, Kuai Liang. Sub-Zero doesn't trust the monks, so they fight. During the battle, Kung Lao scars Sub-Zero and prepares to kill him before Liu intervenes. Sub-Zero, moved by Liu's mercy, agrees to help. But before he can offer much assistance, Scorpion appears and Sub-Zero chases after him. With Sub-Zero gone, the monks face Goro. Given Liu already beat him earlier in the tournament and now has Kung Lao by his side, you can guess how it goes. The monks defeat Goro, and then Johnny Cage just appears out of nowhere to finish him off. Then Liu Kang suddenly turns on Kung Lao and attacks him in a rage. But it's not really Liu, it's Shang Tsung in disguise. The sorcerer escapes again, and Raiden then teleports in and takes Johnny Cage away to safety. Next stop, the Netherrealm, where Raiden sends Liu Kang and Kung Lao to hunt down the final assassin, having to go through the Deadpool first. Once in the Netherrealm, it's revealed that all the killing the monks have done has tainted their souls, allowing them to exist in this otherwise uninhabitable realm. There, they see Noob Saibot being chased by Sub-Zero. Sub-Zero explains that Noob is his brother, Bi-Han, and believes he's been possessed by an Elder God. Liu Kang and Kung Lao push deeper into the Netherrealm and eventually run into Scorpion again. They fight through the Netherrealm, with Scorpion eventually entering his Inferno form, but the monks ultimately defeat him, topped off with a nice Terminator 2 reference. With the assassins defeated, Raiden tells them to head to the Foundry to finally face Shang Tsung. On the way, the monks split up, and while alone, Kung Lao learns from Jax that Raiden had actually been with him the whole time, suggesting that the Raiden that they've been dealing with is an imposter. The monks reunite and enter the Foundry, where Kung Lao accuses Raiden of being untrustworthy, and Liu, now convinced that his friend is actually Shang Tsung, attacks him. But the truth is soon revealed when Raiden, the real Raiden, shows up to explain, only to be blasted away by none other than Shao Kahn himself. It's also revealed that Katana and Johnny Cage are imprisoned, along with Sonya and Kano in a secret location. The monks follow Shao Kahn to his Colosseum, where the final battles await. First, they are attacked by Raiden, who we now know is Shang Tsung. They defeat him, with Liu returning the favor from Deadly Alliance by snapping his neck. Then comes Kintaro, and the monks defeat him too, with a shockingly gory and elaborate finisher. Like, damn guys. And finally, they face Shao Kahn himself, and defeat him. That is if you don't rage quit, especially when you realize if you lose, you have to restart all the way back to the Shang Tsung fight. Pain. With Shao Kahn defeated, their friends freed, Outworld's tyranny broken, and Earthrealm being safe, they all live happily ever after. Or maybe they don't. I don't know, we never hear from this timeline ever again. In the end, Liu Kang in Shaolin Monks is a bit of a cheat code. His gameplay is just completely unfair to every other version of him, and his design is amazing. But as far as story goes, Liu comes off as really, really dumb. It doesn't ruin the experience or anything. To be honest, Shaolin Monks' story is not that great in general, so the fact that the gameplay is so good that it overrides that when you're actually playing the game is a huge accomplishment. But it does keep this version of Liu Kang from being absolute perfection, so I'll give him an A+. And here we are, the end of the Midway original timeline, Mortal Kombat Armageddon. Liu Kang is in the game, but barely. He's playable, but doesn't really have much of a presence outside of that. Story-wise, he's essentially a ghost. No major involvement, no big arc, nothing. His design is exactly the same as it was in Deception. Zombie Liu Kang is the default, and his traditional human form is once again his alternate costume. No new ideas here, just a copy-paste. As for gameplay, he's also pretty much unchanged from Deception. His move list and style setup are very similar with only some small differences, a few altered strings, minor tweaks to his weapon stance, and the removal of the Pow Chewy stance since Armageddon cut the number of fighting styles per character down to 2. None of these changes help him too much. In fact, Liu Kang's overall toolkit takes a slight dip, and the new meta doesn't do him as many favors as Deception's did. He falls into mid-tier status here. When it comes to fatalities, Armageddon, with such a huge roster, ditches the character-specific finishers and instead replaces them with creative fatality, where everyone can do the same handful of generic moves. Now the story, and Liu Kang basically isn't in it. He doesn't show up in the conquest mode, nor is he really mentioned by any of the other characters, and his bio just rehashes stuff we already know. But he does get one standout moment in the opening cinematic.
And old hatreds will be revived.
From this point on in the video, I will be mentioning character endings, since before they were either unnoteworthy or were canon, so I would have to talk about them anyway. In his Armageddon ending, after defeating Blaze, the power surge causes Liu Kang's soul and body to reunite. Whole again, he confronts Dark Raiden and defeats him in combat. With the blessings of the Elder Gods, Liu takes on the mantle of Earthrealm's new protector. Interesting. I'm sure that won't come back in any way, shape, or form. So yeah, Armageddon Liu is essentially Deception Liu, just with less relevance and a worse toolkit. C- tier for Liu Kang and Armageddon. Not terrible or anything, but there isn't much impact that Deception didn't already do first. Before Midway would go bankrupt and WB took the reins of the Mortal Kombat franchise, we got one last entry that bridged the gap between the two companies, Mortal Kombat vs. DC Universe. It was a crossover, but also a fresh step forward for the series with next-gen visuals that, at the time, looked clean and modern. Looking back though, many of the character designs, especially those without masks or face coverings, haven't aged particularly well. Liu Kang might be the best example of that. His face always seemed off, even for the time, and it certainly hasn't gotten any less awkward looking over time. Thankfully, some of the facial modeling and animation would eventually get cleaned up by Mortal Kombat 9. Some. Design-wise though, Liu got a much needed refresh. He keeps the familiar style with similar pants, now in a darker shade of red, and shoes, but without the usual red accents. Most notably, he sports a championship-style belt emblazoned with the Mortal Kombat logo, a unique touch that really stands out. It's a great design choice that adds flair without going over the top, something they could bring back more often, though probably sparingly. In terms of gameplay, Liu Kang was sitting comfortably in the upper tiers of the roster. He wasn't quite top tier, but he was close. His tools were strong with great offensive strings that made it easy to open up opponents and lead into high damaging sequences. The bicycle kick returned, and this time it featured a pro variant, essentially a powered up version like the EX in MK9 and on, that allowed him to extend combos by leading into the air fireball or flying kick, echoing Mortal Kombat 4's bicycle kick. He also gained a brand new special move, a multi-hit cartwheel kick that could end in a low, a pushback mid, or a launching uppercut based on player input. It was a fantastic addition to his toolkit, adding more variety to his mix-ups and combo potential. Between his mobility, pressure tools, and ability to dish out serious damage while staying relatively safe, Liu was a real good threat in this game. Something MK vs. DC gets ragged on for is its fatalities due to its teen rating because of DC's restrictions on violence towards their heroes. Unlike Scorpion and Sub-Zero, who retain some of their cool factor, Liu Kang's fatalities definitely have that neutered feel. His first is a callback to the arcade drop, but without the crunch or blood, it loses its punch. And considering this wasn't even an arcade title, the reference does fall a bit flat. Get it? Get it flat, cause the opponent after the, never mind. His second fatality, oh lord. His second fatality has him punch the opponent into the ground, bicycle kick their head, and throw a fireball at them. Wow. And not in a good way. Story-wise, MK vs. DC is not canon, but it offers an interesting premise. Set after Mortal Kombat 2, it follows the chaos caused by the collision of the two universes brought about by similar events occurring simultaneously in each timeline. Liu Kang opens up the MK side of the story. Members of the White Lotus Society and Edenians from Kitana's realm are mysteriously vanishing. Liu suspects the Lin Kuei or Black Dragon and travels to a graveyard to investigate. There, he's ambushed by Sub-Zero. After winning their fight, they're both attacked by Scorpion, who's hunting Sub-Zero. Liu fends him off, earning Sub-Zero's trust. Suddenly, Scorpion's unconscious body vanishes and is replaced by the Flash. Liu brings him back to the Wuxi Academy to study his body for abnormalities, but before he can make any progress, Shang Tsung interrupts. Liu defeats the sorcerer, but just as he tries to examine the Flash further, he succumbs to the mysterious combat rage and disappears. He reappears in Gotham and attacks Batman, convinced that the Dark Knight is Shang Tsung in disguise. Batman wins, okay, and brings Liu to the UN orbital space station. Raiden retrieves him and then returns to the Sky Temple, where he, Liu, Sonya, and Jax begin to piece together what's happening. Raiden proposes that their universe is colliding with another. Liu next appears much later alongside Raiden and Sub-Zero when Quan Chi arrives with a mind-controlled katana. The sorcerer demonstrates the power of the combat rage, but uses the last of his energy to free Katana, proving he's not their enemy this time. Katana reveals the true villain behind it all, Dark Khan, the result of Shao Kahn and Darkseid fusing together. With no choice, the Mortal Kombat warriors, Liu included, prepare to fight alongside both allies and enemies against the DC heroes. Liu teams up with Shang Tsung at the Fortress of Solitude, where they face off against Superman and Green Lantern. Shang defeats Superman and Liu beats Lantern, but when Shang Tsung mocks Liu's fallen Shaolin brothers, the combat rage takes over. They fight, and this time Shang defeats Liu, empowered by the fusion between the realms. Shang then goes on to beat Green Lantern before returning with Liu to the Sky Temple, where the characters just kinda stand around while Shang fights Kano for some reason, and eventually they all agree to head to Outworld. But when they arrive, the landscape is in disarray, with chunks of each universe floating around in the cosmos, as they stand on disconnected islands in the sky. The MK and DC characters finally come face to face, and a full-on war breaks out, exactly what Dark Khan wants. The combat rage spreads, turning allies against each other. Raiden nearly kills Shang Tsung, and Liu intervenes, only to be attacked by Raiden as well. Raiden realizes his mistake just a little bit too late, and rushes off to confront Dark Khan, eventually teaming up with Superman to defeat the fusion and restore both universes. Darkseid ends up trapped in the Netherrealm. As for Liu's ending, oh lord, this is so corny. Raiden discovers the secrets of the Rock of Eternity and uses it to grant Liu Kang the powers of the gods. Raiden, Argus, Fujin, and more, turning him into the Mortal Kombat version of Shazam. And to turn into this form, what does he shout? In the end, Liu Kang in MK vs. DC is alright. He plays well, has a good design, and performs his role effectively in a crossover where they had to balance two very different worlds. I'll give MK vs. DC Liu a B-. Now we have Mortal Kombat 2011, the game that changed everything and introduced us to NetherRealm Studios, for better or for worse. Liu Kang's design in this game is another decent change-up to the MK2 and 3 clones we'd gotten up until MK vs. DCU. He once again has the dragon on his belt, though it's much more subtle now. He has cloth hanging off the sides that cover his thigh, and red wraps around his shoes. The red dragon design also returns from Shaolin Monks on the pants. In his alternate costume, he's wearing robes inspired by more traditional Shaolin robes. I always thought this one looked weird though because the cloth is like way too tight on his body, rather than being loose and flowing like it realistically would be. For gameplay, Liu is pretty standard in MK9, which honestly doesn't say much in the context of this game. His normal specials are all here, fireballs, the bicycle kick, which has a really great EX version with a lot of damage and armor, and the flying kick, which has an EX version with armor again, good for punishing projectiles. He also has a parry. Certainly one of the parries of all time. There's a new special move too, his stance, which gives him 4 different follow-up attacks, but it wasn't really used much since it couldn't be special cancel, which was a huge deal in MK9. You would mostly just see the uppercut follow-up for combo extension. His combos are simple and easy to pick up. You repeat a few strings to launch the opponent, then end with a special, usually the bicycle kick. Nothing super complex or mind-blowing. And that's kind of Liu Kang's problem here. He's easy to play, but others in his archetype just do it better, with more variety and stronger tools. He sits comfortably in that upper mid-tier space. MK9 introduced a super move in the form of an X-ray where you get to see the details of the opponent's bones breaking with every attack. In Liu Kang's, he uppercuts the opponent and then does a super flexible mid-air kick to the jaw. You can actually combo off of this X-ray, making it one of the more useful ones in the game. For fatalities, his first has him flame punch a hole through the opponent's chest. And that's it. It comes from the story mode where he does the same to Shao Kahn, but still kinda eh. His second is the classic dragon transformation, but instead of the usual green dragon, it's the black, more armored looking version from the cover of this game. Still bites the opponent in half, badass stuff. Now on to the story. At the start, we see the aftermath of Armageddon, with all the combatants dead, including Liu Kang, who's, I guess, dead-er? Raiden sends a message back in time to his past self to prevent this outcome, which brings us back to MK 1992. Liu appears when the tournament starts, briefly concerned about Raiden's strange behavior. As Raiden begins receiving more visions, he becomes convinced Liu Kang is the one referenced in the message, he must win. Liu then goes on a tear in the tournament. He first defeats the powerful Ermac, then survives an assassination attempt by Kitana, who begs him to kill her for disgracing Shang Tsung, yet he shows compassion by staying silent about the attack. He then beats Quan Chi and Scorpion at the same time, granting him the chance to fight Goro. He defeats the Shao Kahn, and then the final challenge to save Earthrealm, Shang Tsung. Which wasn't how it was in the original timeline, but okay. Liu Kang is of course victorious, but Shao Kahn isn't done. He restores Shang Tsung's youth and sends in Tarkatans to invade Earthrealm, slaughtering many Shaolin monks. Raiden is forced to accept new tournament terms, which will be held in Outworld for all the marbles. If Earthrealm wins, Outworld has no claim to it for the rest of time. Raiden then sees a vision of Liu Kang defeating Shao Kahn, as is what happened in MK2. But now Raiden sees this as something that needs to be changed, meaning Liu is not he who must win. Sonya is captured, so Raiden takes Johnny Cage and Jax to save her, while Liu Kang and Kung Lao break off from the group to free their captured Shaolin masters, which we'll see later on in MKX. Liu later shows up in Jade's chapter reacting to Kitana's capture. Angry, he blames Raiden for convincing her to betray Shao Kahn, planting the seeds for the downfall of their relationship. He and Lao head out to rescue her. They fight through Shiva, Noob Saibot, and Goro, who they confront. The Shao Kahn tells him Kitana is set to be executed at the Colosseum, which is where they go. Raiden insists that Liu must fight, but he refuses, convinced that he is not he who must win, continuing their growing rift. Raiden sends Kung Lao instead. Kung Lao does very well, defeating the Deadly Alliance and Kintaro, but his potential reign is stopped when Shao Kahn snaps his neck from behind. This throws Liu into a rage, he rushes in, defeats, and seemingly kills Shao Kahn. But Raiden's amulet still cracks, meaning Armageddon is still set to happen, and Shao Kahn is not dead, and he plans to invade Earthrealm by force using the same loophole of resurrecting Sindel. The Earthrealmers gather forces and convene at the church, where no matter what they do, the amulet still continues to break. This convinces Raiden to leave to confront the Elder Gods, bringing Liu Kang with him. While they're gone, Sindel massacres the Earthrealm defenders. Only Sonya and Johnny survive. They return just in time to see Nightwolf sacrifice himself to eviscerate Sindel. Liu finds Kitana dying, her hand locked with his, wishing that
we had met under different circumstances.
Devastated, Liu begs Raiden for a vision or a clue, but gets nothing. Desperate, Raiden decides to consult Quan Chi. This is where Liu finally breaks. He believes Raiden has gone mad, and that his visions are nothing more than the delusions of an addled mind. Raiden leaves, and Shao Kahn starts to make his entrance into Earthrealm. Liu prepares to stop him, but Raiden returns and tells Liu to let Shao Kahn win. And I always thought Liu Kang's reaction to this was really funny.
Liu Kang, I now realize what we must do. We must allow Shao Kahn to merge the realms.
That is insane.
Cause yeah, it does sound absolutely insane. So I always chuckle thinking about what must be going through Liu Kang's mind during all of this. But if Shao Kahn merges the realms, he will be punished by the Elder Gods for attempting to do so without victory in Mortal Kombat. But Liu does not trust Raiden, leading to a fight. Raiden accidentally hits Liu Kang with a lethal blast of electricity, mortally wounding him. And Liu utters his final words.
You have killed us all.
In his ending, it's just the Armageddon one. Again, beats the big bad, confronts and defeats Raiden, becomes the new protector of Earthrealm. Nothing original here. So that's MK9 Liu, one of the more mixed portrayals we've had to cover. Early on, he's excellent. His moments with Kitana are especially strong, and the relationship is a standout. But watching him slowly get bitter and angry, it's a little strange. It makes sense given how crazy Raiden seems, but it's also kind of tough to watch. Not bad, just not the Liu Kang you're used to. All in all, I'm giving MK9 Liu a B. A solid version with some great moments, but not without its flaws. Then we have Mortal Kombat X, NRS's second MK game and follow-up to MK9. Last time around, Liu Kang died, but just like Deception, you always gotta find a way to bring him back. Liu's default design in this game is pretty bad. The red is super desaturated and the black looks more like gray. But worst of all is the hair. Not just because he's old and it's gray now, but also that horrendous, borderline horrifying ponytail in the back. No reason for this to exist. Ever. His other designs include his revenant form, the one used in the story, a tournament outfit that's supposedly based on MK9 even though it looks nothing like it, an Emperor Liu Kang outfit for his Netherrealm ruler status, a 1992 outfit that isn't really from that game because it has a headband and red cloth, and a Brazilian footballer design. Now for gameplay. MKX Liu Kang might be the GOAT version of him, not just because of how strong he is, but because of how damn fun he is to play. MKX introduced the variation system, 3 different playstyles per character that change up their special moves and game plan. First up is Flame Fist, which gives Liu Kang damage buffs to his fists and fireballs, with the main strength being the former because of the new move where he throws a flurry of rapid punches, replacing the bicycle kick, and deals insane damage even on block. Combined with Liu's already ridiculous pressure and rushdown, this variation was strong, probably just outside the very top tier. Then there's Dragon's Fire, Liu Kang's best variation and one of the best in the entire game. This version gives him a fireball that he can run cancel just like Scorpion's Hellfire variation. That means you can cancel your strings mid-pressure, run in, and keep going. Add in a new 2-hit flying kick that leads into the bicycle kick on EX, and you've got a super dangerous character that you can be winning against, but then corner you and delete your health bar, block or not, in an instant. Definitely top tier. Finally, there's Duelist, his most interesting variation. It's a setup heavy style giving Liu 2 stances, light and dark. The light stance adds basic fireball attacks, but the dark stance is where things get more intriguing, with slow moving red fireballs that deal damage over time. It's not beginner friendly, but still very solid, probably just under Flame Fist in the tier list. In his X-Ray, he beats the crap out of you. It's probably the best way to put it. For fatalities, both are new. In the first one, he rips out your throat and shoves it back into your mouth. I don't really like it since it doesn't really feel like something Liu Kang would do. The second one is way cooler. He flip kicks you into the air, jumps up, plants his feet in your torso, and tears you in half mid-air. There are also brutalities, but just way too many to list. There are some cool ones in there though. For the story, Liu is, of course, still dead. He first appears in Jax's chapter, riding in with the other revenants on demon horses. He helps a weakened Quan Chi reach his temple, but Jax intercepts him. This scene and their interactions sparked a theory that Liu might not be like the other revenants who've had their minds altered. Instead, Liu might be completely aware and just full of actual spite towards Raiden, something that definitely tracks after the events of MK9. We see him again during Scorpion's chapter, when the Revenants arrive at the Special Forces base. Quan Chi dies, Shinnok returns, and Liu and the others show loyalty to him, heading to the Sky Temple to corrupt Earth's Jinsei. There's a flashback to Liu Kang and Kung Lao saving their Shaolin masters, remember that from MK9. They beat up on some Tarkatans and Devora with the help of Raiden. But we quickly return to the present where the Revenants attack Raiden, including Liu Kang, who gets his one-on-one fight. Shinnok then shows up and captures the Thunder God. Liu briefly pops up again during the final chapter when the combat kids take on the Revenants. Jackie and Takeda fend them off, while Cassie beats Shinnok and Raiden restores the Jinsei. Now with Shinnok captured, Liu and Kitana become the new Emperor and Empress of the Netherrealm. Raiden arrives at their fortress and makes it very clear that he will eliminate any threat to Earthrealm, including them. Then he drops Shinnok's severed head at their feet and states,
There are fates worse than death.
in his arcade ending, which is basically just entirely canon besides for the part of him defeating Shinnok, he basically just becomes the Netherrealm's ruler, just as he does in the main story. Oddly, they use his default human design for the graphics, even though the Revenant one would have made much more sense. Overall, MKX Liu Kang is hard carried by his gameplay. His character shines through in how he plays. Fast, fluid, fun, powerful, but everything else just boring. His design is weak, and the role he plays in the story feels like a letdown. Even I, who was less than a decade old when this game came out, was disappointed when he didn't get restored to human form. So for Mortal Kombat X Liu Kang, I'm giving him a D. Alright, MK11, easily one of the most divisive Mortal Kombat games out there, along with the most recent one, Mortal Kombat 1. That's not a good pattern. But some people rank this among their very favorites, others have it at the very bottom. But what about Liu Kang? Honestly, I think Liu Kang is one of the characters this game handles best. But let's get the weakest part out of the way, the design. His default look is the Revenant form, complete with the exaggerated evil-looking armor. It's definitely an improvement over his MKX Revenant outfit, but it still doesn't do much for me. The outfit his past version wears also isn't great. Black jacket, white underneath. It just isn't right. I really don't get why they didn't just give him the MK2 outfit he wears briefly at the very beginning of the story, or if they wanted to go with a top, at least a red and black design would have made more sense. Now his best look by far is Fire God Liu Kang. That design is awesome. While I do prefer the more traditional look he gets in the next game, this one still works really well. The glowing tattoos, white hair, and Raiden's hat on his back all give him this striking presence. Gameplay wise, Liu Kang is once again in great shape. His base kit alone is strong, he's got good strings and solid combos, which help support his strike throw and mix up heavy game plan. For anyone unfamiliar, strike throw refers to constantly forcing the opponent to guess whether they're going to be thrown or hit with a blockable strike. MK11 introduced the custom variation system, allowing players to pick and swap out various special moves to change how the character plays. Some of Liu Kang's most popular picks include the low fireball, returning in good form, and the damage buff plus teleport combo, which made him great for keep away strategies. He also had a command grab and stance combo. The stance in particular was very strong, giving him access to an overhead and low for mix-ups, and it could also combo off of that command grab. He also had a parry. Certainly one of the parries of all time. One of the biggest things in his favor though was how well he took advantage of the crushing blow system. His throws and bicycle kick crushing blows could deal insane damage, especially later in the match. That, combined with his strong kit and versatility with variations, made MK11 Liu Kang one of the game's top tier characters. As for fatalities, his first one might be my personal favorite. He punches the opponent repeatedly, blasting chunks off of them before delivering the famous Bruce Lee 1-inch punch that makes them explode. His second one has him do the famous cartwheel uppercut, but this time the opponent explodes, and then he uses his nunchucks to crush the remains as they fall. MK11 also brought back friendships. In Liu Kang's, he breaks out into dance under a shining disco ball, just like he did back in '93. Groovy. Now let's talk about his role in the story. Chapter 1 kicks off with the Special Forces launching an assault on the Netherrealm Fortress. Raiden handles the army outside as a distraction, while the real mission takes place inside. When Liu Kang finds out about this, he attacks the Special Forces directly, causing the ceiling to collapse on Sonya. Despite this, Sonya completes the mission, sacrificing herself as the fortress explodes. In the aftermath, Liu and Kitana stand amidst the rubble, hopeless, until Kronika appears. She uses her power to reconstruct the fortress and explains that Raiden has irreparably damaged the timeline, with Shinnok's death being the final straw. She recruits Liu and Kitana to help her to reset history entirely. Because of Kronika's actions, past versions of characters are brought into the present, including the MK9 era Liu Kang. He's first seen fighting against Shao Kahn's forces during the battle at the Colosseum and shares a brief moment with Kitana.
I will come back for you, to aid you, Princess.
Soon after, Liu and Kung Lao go to the Special Forces base and learn that the Shaolin Temple has been attacked by Kronika's minions, including their future revenant counterparts. They travel to the temple and find the monks massacred. After getting through several traps, they confront Scorpion and defeat him. But before they can escape, poison gas fills the room. They're saved only because Kronika still needs the past versions alive. If they die, their revenant counterparts would disappear. Scorpion returns, this time with the Revenant Jade, and after another fight, Liu and Lao make it to the Wuxi Dragon Grotto. They're met by Garrus, but before they can engage him, they run into their future corrupted selves. Liu defeats his Revenant self and they attempt to fight Garrus. He freezes them in time and escapes with the essence of the grotto. Later, Liu is seen again at the Shirai-Ryu Fire Garden, where Earthrealm's heroes regroup. He's sent to assist Kitana in gaining Shiva's support. Shiva won't help without the Tarkatans though, so Liu, Kitana, and Lao infiltrate the Tarkatan camp in disguise. They're eventually found out by Scarlet and a battle breaks out. After fighting off the Tarkatans, Kitana defeats Scarlet and manages to convince Baraka to join their cause. Together, they launch an attack on the Colosseum to rescue Kotal and defeat Shao Kahn. After the battle, back at the Fire Garden, past Scorpion arrives from the Netherrealm and tries to explain that he's now an ally. Raiden, influenced by the corrupted amulet, doesn't believe him and prepares to attack. Liu tries to intervene, but Raiden, losing control, battles Liu. That's when Raiden begins to have visions, glimpses of countless timelines where he and Liu Kang have fought each other. They realize this is Kronika's doing. She's orchestrated their conflict across all timelines to prevent them from joining forces, fearing their combined power. But now her plans are unraveling, so Kronika makes her move. Liu Kang is captured, and his future Revenant self, who has mastered Shang Tsung's dark magic, steals Liu's soul, growing even more powerful. Revenant Liu then confronts Raiden on the Nethership, but is defeated. Instead of finishing him, Raiden chooses to save him. He fuses his own essence with both Revenant and past Liu, creating the new Fire God Liu Kang. Now ascended, Liu takes command of the assault on Kronika's keep. He, Kitana, and Kung Lao reach the Hourglass Chamber, but it's too late. Time is already unraveling. Liu fights alone, defeating Revenant versions of Kung Lao, Jade, and Kitana, and then the Elder God Cetrion before facing Kronika herself. Their battle sends them through time, first to a prehistoric era where Kronika defeats Liu, and then further back to the dawn of time. This time, Liu emerges victorious, killing Kronika and resetting the timeline. Human Raiden appears afterwards and explains that Liu Kang is now the keeper of time and protector of Earthrealm. Together, they begin crafting a new era. But suddenly, a portal opens and three men step out: Fujin, Nightwolf, and Shang Tsung. They warn that Kronika's crown was destroyed, and without it, reality will collapse. Despite initial distrust, Liu agrees to send them back in time to retrieve the crown during the battle at the Colosseum. In Aftermath, Revenant Liu is briefly seen again as he captures Shang and the others and takes them to the Netherrealm Fortress. Meanwhile, past Liu is seen on the Netherships as Shao Kahn takes control. Shao defeats Liu Kang, and this defeat affects the Revenant Liu in the future as his leg is shattered as Shao tortures the past version of him. Eventually, Shang Tsung betrays everyone, surprise, and absorbs the power of Raiden, Fujin, Shao Kahn, and Sindel, and defeats Revenant Kung Lao, Kitana, Jade, and then Kronika. Just as he's about to rewrite history, Fire God Liu Kang arrives, and it turns out Liu had anticipated this all along. The two engage in a final battle. Liu defeats Shang Tsung once and for all, and uses the Hourglass to fully reset the timeline. He appears in the distant past and meets the great Kung Lao, marking the beginnings of a brand new era. In his ending, Liu shares control of the Hourglass with his most trusted allies, Kitana, Raiden, and Kung Lao. Together, they become the new Elder Gods. But deep down, Liu still longs for a simpler life, one that was never possible for him as the Chosen One, and certainly not as an Elder God. Man, MK11's writing can be really good when it wants to be. MK11 Liu Kang is fantastic. In a game full of inconsistencies and misfires, he comes out relatively unscathed. This version feels like the culmination of everything Liu Kang has been, his various iterations brought together, finally allowing him to truly evolve. His gameplay is strong, his role in the story is essential and satisfying, and that ending, finally becoming the protector of Earthrealm, is just perfect. I'm giving MK11 Liu Kang an S. And now we're here, the final Mortal Kombat game released so far, Mortal Kombat 1. And Liu Kang once again takes center stage, this time as the poster boy and mascot. A fitting choice, but the real question is, how well was he handled this time around? Let's find out one last time. Liu Kang's look in MK1 is a solid blend of his traditional appearance and the Fire God form from MK11. The previous version really leaned into the blue tones and the white hair, which worked fine as an alternate costume, but didn't quite scream Liu Kang for the main version. Here, the red is back along with the glowing eyes and divine tattoos, and it's a cleaner, more grounded design that still carries that godly presence without overcomplicating things. I like it. That said, the lack of classic design options in this game, no versions without tattoos or glowing effects, is a bit frustrating, especially in a game that's supposed to embrace customization. This game marks a real shift in how Liu Kang plays. While he's still the jack-of-all-trades archetype, his core specials have seen some significant overhauls. Both fireballs return, but altered. The high fireball remains fast and gains a projectile absorption on EX, while the low one is now much slower, meant more for combo extensions or ducking under projectiles to counter. On its own though, the low fireball is pretty easy to react to, meaning it lacks the zoning mix-up pressure it once had. The air fireball now throws multiple projectiles instead of just one, acting as a strong anti-air due to its speed and multi-hit nature. Bicycle Kick is gone for the first time since 1992, replaced by a move that functions more like Fujin's Wind Kick from MK11. The Flying Kick, oddly, is now a projectile-based move. It doesn't actually connect unless the projectile hits first. Personally, I think these changes take away from the fun and fluidity that Liu Kang used to have. In older games, particularly MKX, if you wanted to do a move, you could just do it. They felt more immediate, whereas there's a bit more extra fat on these moves that just kind of mess with the rhythm a little bit, and he doesn't feel as snappy. Overall, MK1 Liu isn't at the top, especially as the meta has settled and support for the game has winded down, but he's still comfortably upper mid-tier or in that range. His first fatality was shown off in the announcement trailer. He summons dragons to pin up the opponent, then slams their head through their torso to blast them in half. The second one has become probably the most iconic non-guest finisher to come from this game because of how cinematic and just the spectacle of it. He takes the opponent into space, rips their skin off with a black hole, and then tosses them in. He also has an animality where he turns into a phoenix and incinerates his opponent with fire. Personally, I would have preferred the dragon to return. Imagine how cool it could look with the Fire God effects. Now onto the story. As Keeper of Time, Liu Kang has forged a new timeline where the greatest threats are neutralized. Or so he believes. He first appears in Chapter 1, testing Kung Lao and Raiden by sending the Lin Kuei after them. In this timeline, he's preemptively befriended the Lin Kuei to prevent their descent into villainy, and soon recruits Lao and Raiden to Earthrealm's roster for the tournament against Outworld. In this new timeline, Earth and Outworld are at peace, but to appease those who still crave conflict, Liu has created a century-spanning tournament where the realms compete for glory rather than conquest. He goes on to recruit Johnny Cage and Kenshi, meeting both at Johnny's mansion. The team heads to the Wuxi Academy, where Liu really steps into that Raiden role by dumping a whole bunch of exposition. Liu has the Earthrealm warriors train and then face each other, and after a series of matches, Raiden emerges as the team's best, and Liu gifts him a lightning amulet to unlock his powers. From there, Liu takes the group to Outworld for the tournament, where Liu defeats all who stands in his way, and the Earthrealmers return home victorious. Soon after, Liu is visited by Garrus, the new Keeper of Time, who Liu gifted his powers to in order to prevent himself from going crazy like Kronika. Garrus warns him that Shang Tsung has escaped his intended fate and is regaining power by infiltrating Sindel's forces. Liu sends the Earthrealmers, minus Raiden, to investigate. Though they come back with new allies, Reptile and Ashura, Shang Tsung eludes capture, and Liu learns that the Deadly Alliance is forming once again. Working with Garrus, Liu uncovers signs that the timeline is being tampered with by an outside force. Later, he sends the Lin Kuei to the Ying Fortress to halt Shang Tsung's plans, but things escalate quickly as Garrus reveals the existence of a second timeline home to this mysterious invader. Liu travels to Outworld to convince Queen Sindel, who wrongly believes Earth has betrayed her, to join forces. He seeks out Li Mei, goes through Reiko and Tanya, and finally earns Sindel's trust by showing her the horrors of the Flesh Pits and revealing his true identity as the creator of the timeline. They're then ambushed by General Shao, who uses Shinnok's amulet to imprison Kitana, Mileena, Tanya, and Garrus, but Liu reclaims the amulet and frees them. They are then reunited with the others to attack the Soul Stealers in the Ying Fortress. Inside, they defeat one Shang Tsung, but then the twist. Titan Shang Tsung from Shang Tsung's Mortal Kombat 11 Aftermath ending enters the scene. It turns out his clash with Liu Kang caused a rift, creating two branching timelines. Titan Shang Tsung now plans to wipe out all life and merge the timelines using the dragon army that the Shang Tsung and Quan Chi from this timeline acquired for him. Sindel is killed and the heroes have to retreat and regroup. They theorize that if Shang Tsung can exist in another timeline, then more timelines must exist with more Titan heroes that they can use to fight back against Titan Shang Tsung. To do this, Liu Kang must regain his power as Keeper of Time and does so via the Great Kung Lao's Jade statue, and he brings over Titan Kitana and has a really sweet, emotion-filled moment hinting at the deep history between them, as this is still the same Kitana that tried to kill him back in MK9. But also became Katana Khan and all that stuff. Liu rallies a small team of Titans, but Shang Tsung learns of the plan and attacks the Hourglass, but thankfully, Liu Kang is able to protect it and defeat Shang Tsung's minions. Liu then sets up for the final battle as he gathers Titans from all across different timelines to storm Shang Tsung's pyramid in homage to Armageddon. The player chooses which Titan joins Liu in the final fight, and together they defeat Shang Tsung, and Thanos snaps him out of existence. Peace is restored and the Earthrealmers share a final meal, and Liu Kang departs to help Kuai Liang build the Shirai Ryu. But of course, chaos reigns. Thankfully, Liu Kang is not a huge part of Chaos Reigns, so we only have to talk about it briefly. He appears early on trying to persuade Mileena to spare Bi-Han and Sector for their role in Sindel's death, but they're interrupted by Titan Havoc, who defeats Liu and kidnaps Garrus. Later, Liu devises a plan to stop Havoc, who is attempting to fuse Garrus' time crystals with the Kamidogu to reshape the timeline. Liu sends Kuai Liang, Sector, and Cyrax into Havoc's Chaos Realm, where they ally with alternate versions of Tanya, Johnny Cage, and they rescue Bi-Han, now Noob Saibot. Liu restores Bi-Han's mind, but before they can regroup, Havoc attacks, now with the Kamidogu. The final battle takes place in the Ying Valley, where despite being on the same team, Liu and Noob are constantly clashing over their vision for the future. Noob defeats Titan Havoc and insists on killing him, but Liu intervenes to prevent the mass destruction of Havoc's timeline. He imprisons Noob, yet oddly lets Sector go for some reason, and that's how the story ends. In Liu Kang's latter ending, which is canon, reclaiming his Keeper of Time powers has stripped him of his immortality. He'll live for eons, but one day he must name a successor, and he chooses Garrus. There's also an invasion season where another timeline's Liu Kang becomes corrupted by power, endlessly restarting his world in pursuit of perfection, and aims to do the same thing to every single timeline. Eventually, the Titans band together once again to salvage his mind and return him home. So how does Liu Kang fare in this new role he has in Mortal Kombat 1? Honestly, almost too well. I do think they should have brought in more of the nuanced, subtle personality traits, some of that calm fire we saw in older games, just to show us that this is in fact the same Liu Kang and not just a repeat of Raiden. In moments like his interactions with Titan Kitana, it's there, but I wish it had been more consistent throughout. Still though, as a mentor figure, he feels very natural and more charismatic than Raiden has been in a long time. He fits the role like a glove, and I really hope they commit to him and don't just drop him off after like 1 or 2 more games. Overall, Mortal Kombat 1 Liu Kang is good. Different, but still good. Some of the changes work, others don't. He's a bit harder to place than usual just because of how different his role is from previous games, but if I do have to give him a grade, I think Mortal Kombat 1 Liu Kang is gonna get a B. There you have it, every version of Liu Kang from the entire game franchise explained and rated. I really love Liu Kang as a character, definitely near my top 5, if not in that number 5 spot when it comes to my favorite characters. And none of these versions were horrendously bad. He's honestly a quite hard character to get wrong, but it has been done before. Looking at you, Legacy. But looking at the games, it's mostly B's, A's, and even a couple S's. But that's just all my opinion. You guys let me know in the comments your favorite versions of Liu Kang and your thoughts on the character overall. And while you're down there, make sure to check out the links in the description to my merch store, Twitter, and Instagram. Also, make sure to give this video a like to show your support, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell to know when I next upload a new video. And with that being said, that's it for this video, my fellow oddities. I'll see you next time.